So I hereby waive all my rights here forthwith.
Okay, Sam, so you received the consent forms and you agreed to them? And you
Yes.
signed them?
Yes, I did.
Okay, let's move forward. Can you please tell us your name and spell it for us, please?
Name is Sam Smith, SAMSMITH.
Do you go by any nicknames that you would like to be called?
Nothing that I could use on tape. No, just Sam.
Okay. What year were you born, Sam?
1956.
Okay. What city and state were you born in?
I was born right here in Milwaukee.
Okay. Have you lived here your whole life, or have you moved around?
Yes, I've been here all my life, yeah.
Okay. What area of Milwaukee did you live on, like street address?
We started initially down on 2nd and Lloyd, down in the Brewers Hill area. Then we moved to Harambe area when I was about 10. Then we moved to 21st and Center to my adulthood. Then I pretty much lived in the same area, most of my life. Lived in Maguanago for a few years and came back to the city.
Okay.
I like the city, yeah.
Okay. What was the main decision to move to Moguanago?
Just looking for something different.
Okay.
Yeah, just different atmosphere or something. And work. I was working back and forth, driving to Chicago every day and, just look for something different, just searching them years where you're trying to find yourself,
Okay.
doing construction work with my brother.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a carpenter and I got a degree in cabinet making, so we did a lot of construction work together.
Okay. Then what eventually brought you back to Milwaukee?
My mother, she was always sickly and such, and I pretty much stayed close to her.
Okay.
I'm a mama's boy, so yeah, had to stay close to home.
Okay. When did you start working for Axe?
May of 2014.
Okay.
Yep.
And what transitioned you from construction and cabinet making into your position here
Well,
at Axe?
I've did just about every kind of work you could do in Milwaukee, and then I spent 23 years working for Time Warner Cable. Ended up with a supervisory position there, but didn't like management too much. It's too much responsibility. But yeah, I spent 23 years there and probably climbed every telephone pole in half of Wisconsin. During that, I started buying rental properties, and I had about 15 rental properties that I was taking care of at the same time, with the full-time job and home and that, and it just got to be a bit much, so I left the cable company, did that full-time, and then I started to downsize because my mother got sick and I spent a lot of time with her. And then my brother, he was in an accident in Ohio and got partially paralyzed, so I brought him back here and spent time with him, and between him and my mother I became like a nurse.
Okay.
But at the same time I was still doing the home improvement type work.
Okay. So what's your title here at Axe, and can you kind of explain, what you do on a day-to-day basis?
I'm a senior rehab specialist. Our job is initially we work with a realtor to find a suitable property for sale, and we work with the buyer to make sure that house is suitable for them. I actually go through the house and look at what needs to be fixed to get it code compliant, safe, and habitable. And I write up a scope of work with a dollar amount, of what it would cost to repair it at contractor price, and sweat work, that's work that the owner would do itself, and come up with a total, and work with the realtor and the owner to see if that number works for them.
What types of families do you usually deal with here on a day-to-day basis, and It
It varies. it's so many different types, from the single mother of three to the home improvement contractor that's looking for a fix me up. It's a lot of variety. I thought that it would be more of a somebody looking for a one-timer or a starter home or something, but it's so many different varieties of people that actually apply for houses that it's kind of hard to say. There's a lot of people that paid rent for like all their lives and such, and they could see the value of owning their own home, cost effective, and to be able to make it their own, kind of adds value to it.
Okay.
Also.
So there's actually like contractors who buy houses from Axe as well. Is that what you said?
Yes.
And they'll like fix them up and
Yep, and live in them. Yeah.
live in them.
Yeah, because our houses, we don't try to sell for profit, rental properties or investors or whatever. A lot of the contractors that we use, they see the value of being able to buy a house and fix it themselves. Because with them being a contractor, they can pretty much do their own work and bring down the cost of the rehab.
And do they keep it then and rent it, or do they usually sell them for
They
profit?
usually keep them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keep it as a rental property,
Yeah,
or do they live
it's
in it?
required for them to live in it for 5 years, and then after the 5 years, it's free and clear, so they could rent it or sell it or whatever after that.
Okay. How does Axe improve the community, or how is Axe helping the community? In your own words, and
Well-
like what you've seen with your time here.
I've seen neighborhoods go from neighborhoods you don't want to be in, to neighborhoods where you could actually call home. Sometimes I've questioned some of the houses that we put up for rehab because they were so bad. I didn't think that they would be worth the trouble, but I've been pleasantly surprised that the type of work some people are willing to do to have their own. And I've seen some very good examples of bringing a house from the verge of being demoed, to making it a nice, comfortable home. A lot of it depends on the dedication of the person, that buys it. And then, I push them, to do it, in a timely fashion and, safe. So, and on budget.
I guess I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So do you ever see certain homes that are in the neighborhood that are known as, oh, that's a really bad house? Like you kind of touched on that. I think you get like homes that you say are really bad, but then are transformed into something else. Do you ever see a complete reversal like that?
Yes. We usually, the houses we usually get, they're usually the neighborhood eyesore. The ones that, been vacant for a while, and, sometimes they get into drug activity, kids hanging out and breaking windows and so forth. And some of the neighborhoods, the neighbors, they'd be glad to see, somebody get this house and fix it because it helps improve their property value and everything, too. So it's like a neighborhood building thing. We had a slogan, building a neighborhood one home at a time, and I could see where that has came into play, because we have a couple areas where one family would buy a house and they would fix it up, and then there'd be other houses on that block, and then he would help his brother get one on that block, and then they would just keep that going until the whole block is occupied.
So you're saying like Axe has inspired other people to fix up their homes, even though they're like, for example, like a house gets bought, fixed up, looks nice. Have you seen that inspiring other people to, fix up their houses on their own without, using a resource like Axe? Like, has it brought like more a sense of pride and?
Yeah, I would see that. Sometimes misery loves company, and it's given the hope that my neighborhood ain't that bad, where, once you get rid of that eyesore, everybody start to take, more pride in their own, home. And, usually when we see somebody fixing up a home, you could actually see the other neighbors start to take a little more care of theirs too, because you don't want to be, at the bottom of the pole, when it comes to how your neighborhood looks.
So it kind of gives some sense of pride towards the other people that they don't want to be the
Right, exactly.
the worst house on the block.
Nobody wants to be the eyesore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think ACTS does for these families? Just outside of giving them a home. Like, how do you think ACTS affects their life and?
Well, during the course, we do a financial counseling course too, to let them be aware of, the cost of doing homes and the financial responsibility of, home owning. At the same time, we emphasize that they clean up their credit to become more financially responsible, for that. To be able to take the money that you would usually give somebody else for rent and be able to own your own home at a cheaper cost, it actually frees up cash flow and, actually could make things a whole lot better if you, do it properly. So, along with the financial gain of it, to have your own, to have a place that you could actually call home, I can't think of the right word, to help yourself grow, to be a responsible homeowner, a better person type thing. We're not trying to technically change people's lives, but, I can see how it's done, to give you a sense of belonging, to an area and yourself, yeah.
Because a lot of the people in this neighborhood are immigrants. Is that?
Yes, that's pretty much how it started with Father Dennis over here at the church. That's kind of how he started the program. It was people from different cultures that they were just willing to live in somewhere to be together, and they started, like one house at a time. They just started improving certain areas, and where they could actually still be together, because people like to be around their own, and if you could do that as a unit, that goes back to the father buying a house, the brother buying a house, somebody else buying a house, and then you could be all in the same area, so you could just make it like a neighborhood, a neighborhood home, more or less. So.
And does that credit counseling and financial teachings does that like also explain to them like the credit system here in the U.S.?
Yes.
Helping like an immigrant, understand how money and stuff works here.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many ACTS properties and projects do you typically work on, at one point in time? Like this week, for example.
I don't know. It varies. It depends on the need and the stage that the house is in. We have a rule, say we work on 20% of the properties 80% of the time. So it's kind of at an at-need basis. We spend more time when they're getting started, and then as they get more progressive, then we would move our priorities to somebody a little less needy. So at my highest point, I was managing 76 properties, but I didn't have to see everyone every day. You know, I would know where each person was at, you know, with their rehab, you know, whether they was finishing up painting or drywall or doing exterior work.
No, 76, that was kind of like from the approval process through construction? I mean, does that include like families that have already moved in and have been there?
That would include that too, yeah.
Okay.
Until they get to a point where they're code compliant and, you know, used all their funding and so forth.
Okay.
So, because our role with the city is to get them, you know, moved in the house and to get the house up to code where there's no safety issues, no chip paint, make sure all the doors, windows are correct. They have running water, electric, and heating and so forth. You know, just a safe and livable, you know, place. So we follow them all the way through the process. You know, from the day they buy it to the day that they're completely done with it.
Now, as far as like demand, are there like people knocking on Axe door like constantly, like looking for houses, or are you having to go out and find people, or is it more like a word of mouth type of thing?
It's pretty much been more of a word of mouth. I actually wanted to help improve that some kind of way because I didn't think Axe's name was out there as much as it should have been. I know in the Hispanic community, you know, they spread the word of mouth like very much. And like on the South Side, you know, we deal with a lot of Hispanic families, and we sometimes can't get enough houses to satisfy them. They actually have a waiting list.
Egg rolls?
Go ahead. And we're recording. Yeah, get out. You know, so it's sometime demand, and you know, and then of course you have your seasonal, you know, where everybody want to try to fix something in the summertime. You know, I had initially thought that it would slow down in the wintertime, but it really doesn't. You know, we had just as many in the wintertime that we had in the summertime. So it's a nonstop process, you know, but then, you know, that's when we have to be extra vigilant to make sure that they're working with heat and, you know, have running water and so forth and things. So it kind of puts a sense of urgency to it, because when you're working on a house in the summertime, you're not really concerned about the heat.
Right.
You know, but as soon as you know, it gets cold or whatever, and if you got plumbing, you got to worry about your pipes freezing and so forth. So we need to make sure that everybody has what they need, you know, when they need it. You know, but as far as the demand, Axe has been around for 20-something years, and I think it could improve on the advertising, or the can't think of the right term.
Like awareness, like people,
Awareness of it, yeah.
yeah.
'Cause-
You said you were trying to improve on that. Like what kind of ideas did you have
Yeah.
that could
Well,
make people in the neighborhood know that Axe is here and you know, available for them as a resource?
You know, pretty much, say for instance, last weekend, they Father's Day, they had the Juneteenth Day Festival down here on King Drive. I had brought the question, you know, why don't we have a booth down there, you know, to advertise, you know, the product. And I was told that it was done years ago, but it really wasn't very successful because they didn't have a lot of follow-up. You know, it's things like that I think, you know, when the opportunity presents itself, you know, we need to be out there spreading the word of what we can do for people and the neighborhoods and such. One of the purposes of home ownership is that it cuts down on the rentals, which cuts down on the constant movement of people which actually cuts down on the crime. Most crime areas are more rental properties where people come and go. There's no sense of home, so people really don't care about the neighborhood. You have some homeowners that's just stuck there because they can't sell, they can't move, they can't go anywhere. So, it makes like a bad situation if half your neighborhood is good, and then you got this one house that's just causing turmoil, in a neighborhood, the city has been trying to do a good job of help cleaning up these areas. But when you have that vacant house, that one eyesore, that one that everybody hangs out in front of, that nobody's taking care of, then, that's the one that we try and target to get somebody in it that's going to take care of it.
Now, since you've seen that home ownership like reduces crime and like improves the neighborhood, do you like get a lot of help from the city or like other organizations that would also be interested in decreasing crime and getting people into home ownership?
There is supposed to be some. I don't pay a lot of attention to it. I just try and concentrate on what we do here. I've heard there were different programs that help cut down on crime by eliminating the vacant houses. I know every now and then, the mayor has a thing where, they trying to do something with vacant houses. They have a term for them. I can't think of what term they use for these abandoned houses and so forth. But every now and then they have a program that's going to help try and fix these houses up or remove them. I know once upon a time you would never see a vacant house in Milwaukee. I've been here all my life, and I'm not sure why I'm still here, but I started to leave a long time ago, but I didn't. When I heard about this job, I was just browsing on the internet, just looking for just browsing, and I ran across the job posting for Axe, and I called the number, and they told me to leave a 2-minute message on why I think I should apply for this job, and I just rattled off something, and I don't even remember what I said, but I got a call 2 days later for an interview, and I just came and just went through the interview process, and 4 interviews later, I was offered the job. When I tell friends of mine, about, the job that was offered, everybody said that job was perfect for me because I'm that type of person that will give that hands-on help and, show somebody how to do something. And, I'm the one that everybody calls when they need something, support piece, and everybody I talked to, all my friends and such, they said that, that job was perfect for me, and, it almost seemed like a fate thing that popped up, because at that time I was at the point where I was ready to leave. My mother just passed away and such, and, that was the only reason I was still here. So it was kind of like, something that just came into play. And, like on the flip side of that, I was actually working for a property management company, MPI Property Management, and I was repair technician for them, and I kind of had the picture of what I call the brutality of rental properties. There were some living conditions that people was paying rent for in some of these rental properties that was just unbearable. And that mindset that they could do better, always stuck in my head, and that's the difference in doing something like that and doing something like this, because you could actually help people get to a better state instead of you just patching a house that's not worth the rent they're paying, to be able to give them a better life so they can have their own. I didn't like the property management portion of it, but it was something I knew how to do, so I just did it. It was just a job, but I didn't enjoy it like at all. It was just, you sit on the edge of the bed and ask yourself why you got to go to work today, type thing, And the difference from here is that I want to come to work. I want to do things. I like the adventure of it. To get the end result, to see that you actually accomplish something. You actually help somebody move forward. Type thing. I'm kind of soft that way, but yeah. But that's the value that I see in X. To help get people past that point to where they're responsible for themselves. That self-awareness. What's the term? Self-empowerment that they have on a mission statement. So I'm just rattling on, Yeah.
Do you wish like the city of Milwaukee would do something more for ACTS, or have a better hand in helping your mission statement? Like, is there something that they could do to make things easier, or like rules, restrictions, like things that you think are like kind of bogus that you have to jump, like hoops you got to jump through?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to answer that honestly. With the city now, we did have a contract with the city that's, I believe, is going to expire at the end of the year. To do so many houses, but at the same time, we have to go by the city guidelines, too, as far as how the house is brought up to code. Sometimes their timelines are very short. Knowing that we're dealing with, let me rephrase that. We're trying to do a $100,000 rehab for 30. So everything is on a budget. We have an inspector that works with us, Andy Yeager. He's actually very helpful. He's actually assigned to ACTS because of the contract that we're doing with the city. But he can take the neighborhood inspector's orders and push them back 6 months and give these people a chance to finish their project, and then get their certificate of compliance. And I've seen times where he took orders from a neighborhood inspector that was just a jerk, and he was going to fine a family like $400 because they didn't finish making their steps in enough time or whatever. And he was actually able to have that reversed and let them use their money to finish their home, which they actually did. So it's things like that. The city has a lot of restrictions, and true enough, you have to do things by the rules. You have to pull permits and so forth. But sometimes their timeline is a bit short for what we're trying to do. But at the same time, we try to express to the people that we can't move real slow on doing this rehab. It has to be done in a timely fashion. But you could plan something, but it might not come out that way. But you just have to keep yourself moving, towards that purpose, too. So the city has some funding through their strong homes and other programs, but it's more for the credit-worthy people, and that's where the counseling comes in, to help get people more credit-worthy, just in case they need additional help from city and different organizations and so forth. A lot of the banks won't help because they don't want to take the responsibility of a house under rehab, to invest money in. So we're kind of like that bridge, between, trying to do it on your own and trying to do it with help. So it's kind of, everybody could pitch in a little more, but then you have to deal with other people's rules and so forth, and their guidelines and expectations and so forth.
So for the uncredit-worthy people, does ACTS help them out, or how are they getting?
Yeah, Now that's where a lot of the counseling, comes in. The counseling program actually tells people what they need to do on, like, we run their credit report and we say you need to start paying on this bill and you need to make arrangements on this, which actually get their credit score up, because a lot of them, just have like medical bills that would mess up your credit, and get you to the point where you can't get any loans or anything. We have an in-house loan that helps a lot. It was initially just like $3,000, which wasn't very much, but it helped. I believe we just increased that to 15, and that makes a big difference. Yeah, like I say, we try to do a $100,000 rehab for like $30,000, so we have to do it smartly. So we're very budget minded on doing that. And we try to express the point that we're not trying to build you a mansion. We're trying to get you a clean, safe, occupiable home, that you can, live in, and then you can make it cute later. So we're trying to do the necessary, the essentials, to get you in the home, and then you can make it as cute as you want to later, so.
So after like you create your scope of work, how do you get in touch with contractors? Is it like bid on your website or?
Well, no, we have a contractor database that we have. We recommend, a particular contractor, and we advise the buyer to look for a contractor themselves, and we actually just take bids, for the work that needs to be done per category. Sometimes we use like a general contractor. Sometimes we use a specialized electric, a plumber, and a roofer and so forth. And we try to fit that into the budget. Sometimes we can't, so we have to keep looking, and then sometime the owner can do some of the work themselves, but certifiable work, where you need a license and permits and such, we insist on them having a certified electrician and plumber and a carpenter and such, for safety and code reasons, to pull permits and so forth.
A lot of the contractors that are interested in working on Axe projects, are they from this neighborhood or from this area, or are they?
Yeah, usually they're local, small contractors for the most part. A lot of the bigger contractors are too expensive. A lot of big contractors don't want to work in the inner city, which comes to the point that we have to be selective. We try to outreach. We constantly try to increase our contractor base, and compound with the fact that we don't give down payments. Our contractors won't have down, and have the rest when they're done or whatever. I guess somewhere along the line, they gave half down on the contract and never came back or whatever. So them kind of issues. So we don't give money down. That sometimes creates a void in the contractor base, to where a lot of them don't want to use their money to start a job, and then once they're like, we can do a progress payment. Like if we do half the job, we could pay you half the bid, and then when you're done, we pay the other half, type like that. But a lot of contractors don't want to do that. A lot of contractors can't afford to do that. So we try to work with the ones that we can. I've been searching some of the bigger contractor firms and, explaining our mission, and, see if we could get them to, it's like a matter of trust. I trust you to do the work and you trust me to pay you. So, try to build up that kind of relationship, with the contractor, to come and do all the work. Then when you're dealing with the smaller contractor, I could give you this bid and I could get a $15,000 difference in that price from one contractor to the other. And we are looking for consistency, in our pricing, but each house is different, of course, but we're trying to get to the point to where we have a good idea, as rehab specialists, I have to know what everything costs. So I have a good idea of what the average roof costs, what the average electric upgrade costs and things. And, I try to work around that average. Some come under average, some go way over average, but in the whole scheme of things, it's actually up to that owner to pick that contractor. I just refer it, and they could pick the high contractor or they could pick the low contractor. But all in all, I want the same job done, for them. And, that's where our monitoring, portion, comes in, to make sure that they get their money's worth of work.
So after a house has been like refurbished through Axe,
Yeah.
how long does the owner have to stay there? And do you find them staying there longer than they need to? Like, do they kind of?
Yeah, most of them stay longer than they need. I believe it's a 5-year requirement, and then it's prorated. So, like in the third year, it'll be down like 60%, type. If there's like with our loan, if we have a $5,000 loan and you're in your third year, I think it's just the $2,000 difference, that would be required for you to like buy out your loan or whatever, to pay out your loan, and then you could do whatever you want with it.
Other families that are on like their second or third Axe home, like can them fixing up, living in it, and then selling it for a profit, and then coming to you again for a property. Have you seen that? Are people doing that?
I haven't really seen that. I haven't really seen that, but I know that it's possible. We don't, to my knowledge, we don't monitor their buying and selling, as long as they do their, 5-year commitment. I'm not exactly sure how that plays a part in that, but I have seen where somebody has, spent their 5 years and then they sell the house to a relative and then get another one, something like that. So I've seen, things like that. Yeah.
You mentioned the south side. Are there other Axe locations? Are they in other neighborhoods, or are you
Yeah,
servicing
we have
multiple parts of the city?
2 other areas. Our south location is located on 32nd and Lincoln, and one of the churches, I can't think of the name of it. And then our north side location is located on 2nd and Burleigh in St. Martin de Porres church. And then actually we have a fourth Coretta. She works out of the new St. Anne's building right on 24th and North Avenue. Yeah, she works out of that location.
And what neighborhood do you live in right now?
I live in Lindsay Heights, down on 9th and Wright Street.
How does your neighborhood that you live in compare to this neighborhood here?
This neighborhood right here?
Yeah.
It's a little more noisier. The street I live on is a 2-block drag strip, for lack of a better term. That for some reason everybody just wants to speed down the street. It's not the best neighborhood. I live next door to a dope house, but I was told that the house that I bought was a dope house too. So, but saying that, I was talking to the neighbors, and they said that they glad that I bought that house because it was the proper house in the neighborhood, and I expressed that it will not be anymore, because I take care of the house. I fixed up, plant flowers and make the yard good, and I don't bring, the drama, and I look out for my neighbors and such. I'm not gonna just let somebody just break in their house and steal their cars, all this other kind of stuff. So because I don't want them to do mine. So, once you get into that point, if you take out the problem house in the neighborhood, it makes a better neighborhood. But, the three of the neighbors that I talked to, they said they was glad that I bought that house because, it was the problem house in the neighborhood. So,
Other than being noisier, what are some other differences?
it's not a lot of difference. It's just the traffic on the street that's like the biggest nuisance, and like I say, there's a active drug house next door. It's not the your typical 24-hour a day type thing. It's just you could tell the type of people that come and go, that the activity, which I kind of figure is going to be short lived because I gotta be I'm thinking that police are aware of it because when they drive by they're looking at it, but I figure just be a matter of time before they run them out. So I could play the waiting game for that. So but other than that, the rest of the neighborhood is pretty quiet. It's mostly homeowners, and then they go out there. I think it might be maybe 2 rentals on the block, and once that initial house is quiet up, and I'm actually put out a request for them to put some speed bumps on that street, and I think that'll tone that down, quite a bit. Me and one of the neighbors was talking about it, but I'll make the phone call that way.
I have a question. Did you purchase your home through Axe at all?
No. As
Okay.
a matter of fact, I was supposed to buy the house across the street from where I'm living at through X. It was a single family, 5-bedroom home that was under tax foreclosure. I put the offer and such in, and maybe 2 days before closing, they canceled the closing, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I learned that people, actually the house was occupied too. And I learned that the people that were living in the house were the original owners, and they was able to file for bankruptcy and stop that closing. So with that, one of my contractors actually owned the house that I live in now, and he had just bought that at sheriff's sale. And he told me that he would sell me that house for what he paid for it. So I said, okay. So we took a look at it, and ended up paying like $9,000 for a 3-bedroom duplex with a 60 by 170 lot. With parking and so forth and things, and that actually worked out okay for me. We just had to go in and do a little cleaning and painting and such, and I moved in it last year, like Labor Day. So it ended up being okay deal, for me. I had just got my retirement pension. I cashed out my pension from Time Warner Cable. So I had the cash to actually pay for it, which I was going to do with the house across the street. But that actually worked out okay for me. Even though I wanted to buy a house from Max because I wanted to set that example that I did what you could do, type thing, so. But that particular house didn't work. I had certain requirements that I wanted. I had to have a driveway or a garage because where I moved from, I lived on 33rd and Hour, and I actually bought the house from the city back in '98, and I lived right on the corner, and I bought the side lot next to it where I was going to build a garage, but the price that it would have cost, and the city wouldn't let me build it as big as I wanted to, just was, just pissed me off more or less. But living on that corner, I think 3 out of my 4 vehicles got hit. They didn't have a stop sign on that corner. It was, just another speed strip. It was too much traffic, and then when my son got his kids, we had kids there, and it was hard for the kids to play in the yard, and Did the neighborhood had drug activity where they liable to be shooting down the street at any given moment? It just became, a pain, to be there. So I just wanted to get off that corner, and find something a little more seclusive where I'm not out there in the open, because I stress on a sense of family. You got to be able to have your family safe at home, or else, it doesn't make any sense. So that's why I was looking.
I do have another question.
Mhm.
Kind of going off of why I asked you if you got it through Access. How do you think
Yes, I'm
working
single.
for Access?
I'm single, yes. Anyway, yeah.
Okay.
I like to keep a sense of humor.
Well, I guess we would ask us.
Yeah, serious.
How is like working with families?
You can take that part out if you.
Okay, we'll take
Okay,
that out.
go ahead.
How has working for ACTS and working with these families changed how you see your own home and how you see home, like neighborhood building in your own life?
It really hasn't changed my thought that much because I know what they go through. I've been on both sides of the fence, honestly. I have times where I didn't have a home and I slept in my car. I had a time where I owned 15 homes. I had a few homes foreclosed on. So I have been through the whole spectrum of what I see, of what I have people going through. So it's not like I haven't been where you are. So I have gained and I have lost. So I know the process. Where you can have or not have. You can deal with, or you can do something about it. I have lived it. So but it's when I try to guide people, I try to see where their mindset is, to see if it's a good fit for them and if they have the strength to go through with it. Because I've seen some get close and then like start to crash and burn, start to question themselves, and I've seen some just excel with it and do exactly what they need to do, to get the whole process going. But my experience through life, the good and bad, I've seen the whole spectrum, and I can appreciate the effort that some of these people put in, and that's why I try to push the ones that I know can do it, to get them to that final stage, and to get them to. It's not just getting you in that home; it's getting you to be able to get in that home and maintain it, too. So because you still have to pay your taxes, you still have to upkeep, you still have to, become a homeowner, where you can't call the landlord to come fix something. You have to have your resources to where you can come and have somebody fix something or learn to fix things yourself. I actually show a lot of people how to do some of the work. I don't try to get too involved. I give them the baseline and see where they're going with it, and most people can actually think it out. There are some work that you could do yourself, through home ownership, and then some you need to have an expert come in. But there's nothing in this whole system that's not teachable. So it's kind of like a per basis. Some people can do it, some people can't. I worry about some people because I think they're going to crash and burn, but then, I've been pleasantly surprised by others. So as far as how I look at it, I go through the same things that they have to go through. I just know how to do it, a little better than them. When I was buying houses, I had 3 teenage sons. I was a single parent. I raised my own kids and so forth. So I was trying to initially help them build a future through home ownership, becoming a property owner and so forth. But they were teenagers; they wasn't hearing that and such. And I was pretty much doing a lot of the stuff myself. But I could pretty much most of the houses I bought, they needed repair. I had a friend at the bank, the house being receivership, and I'd make them a lowball offer for it, and surprisingly, they would take it and just get it off their books. But I would go through and rehab a house in 30, 45 days, and then turn it to a rental, and then I'd find one to live in, and my goal was to actually move my own home like every 2 years. Every 2 years I would find a different house and just keep growing until I get where I want to go, like out in Door County or something. But I just kind of had to slow down because I had too much on my plate, with my mother and my brother and the job, and my personal life got the slacking because I'm spending so much time away from home, in the pursuit of happiness and so forth. But you have to know your limitations, too, to where you can bite off too much, or know what you're capable of doing, if you're going to do it, but home ownership ain't for everyone. And sometimes I stress that point, but then, if they insist on it, then I just try to help them through the process. So, it's kind of like still on an individual basis, to where I have to look at each person separately and see, to try to find their strong points and their weak points, and just try to keep them focused, moving forward. So it's not a hard job, but it's not easy, either, because, like I say, I could go from experience and see, where you need to be, what you need to do, and such. And, it's a matter of paying attention, to the people you're working with. And when you're dealing with 60, 70 people at once, you kind of get a feel for, spreading yourself out, that individuality. I had this Maria Hernandez, pregnant Hispanic lady on the south side. She wanted this house on 16th and maybe Grant. The term of Polish flat, where like the basement is one unit and then the upper unit. The house was super rough. The house was super rough. I questioned her judgment on this house, but she wanted that house. Learned that her husband, was a home improvement, contractor that actually did some work for us. And they did a very good job on fixing that house. And she would be there like after school, pregnant, working and picking up, and they did a very good job. And they worked with the inspector and did everything he said they need to do. And they're totally done, with the house. But the house was rough. Like the basement floors were warped and going, and dirt and rats, and the back porch was, I wouldn't step on it, but they made it happen because it's what they wanted. She said it was the neighborhood she wanted to live in, and she was gonna do it, and I watched her do it. And I was impressed, on the dedication that she put into it. And it didn't take forever. They made it work. She worked. I forget. I think she's a CNA or something. But yeah, she was there. Working. Pregnant. Her and her husband, and they did a good job. And it's things like that make me wanna, keep that process moving. You have your ones that can just, they have the dedication of what they want and they do it. And that's the part that impresses me with it, sometimes. Then you have the ones that crash and burn, but yeah, that's another story.
Yeah, what would you say the success rate is of acts and, you know, turning over a house to people, like, you know, how many people can't handle it, like you said, you think home ownership's not for everyone, so.
We have a pretty good success rate. I don't think we've had any, well, I'm sure there was one or two that actually couldn't make it. I could think of maybe two that didn't, or that wasn't able to finish it. I forget how it concluded. I know one, it had to get to the point to where she had started getting fined from the city, you know, then that was her extra incentive to finish, you know, because what had happened, it was a bank-owned property that came with, I believe the bank donated like $15,000 towards the rehab of the house. She was supposed to have $10,000 towards the rehab of the house. After closing, instead of her using her $10,000 towards the rehab, she decided to buy a new car. So the bank money wasn't enough to finish the job, and she kept reaching out for help, free money or whatever, to help her finish the job and such, and it just, her credit wasn't good enough for us to give her a loan. So, you know, I had some volunteers come in and we did some drywall work and painting and, you know, actually I think we did that twice and such, and then she took so long to do it, somebody came and stole the siding off the house. It was the aluminum side, and they came and peeled it off, and, you know, that was just another recourse. But, you know, then, you know, she said she wanted to just give it back. You know, you just can't give it back, you know, something that you buy, you know, you just, you know, it's a commitment, you know, you just can't give it back, you know, say, oh, I don't think I could do this. So, but, you know, they finally took my advice and just removed the rest of the siding and painted, you know, the house, you know, to help with the cost of, you know, re-siding it, you know, since, you know, there wasn't money for loans or whatever that we could give and such. And then, you know, with the city, you know, constantly, you know, finding her like $1,200 every month, you know, she just had to get moving, you know, because they weren't stopping. They gave her time to do things. She wouldn't cut the grass would get this high. They come by and cut it, charge her $400, you know, that type of thing, you know. And, you know, she just had to bump her head, you know, a couple of times to get it, you know, moving. You know, but yeah, the city will come behind you and test you, you know, too. So, you know, not along with, you know, so much help, but, you know, they will tell you that you're a homeowner and you're responsible, you know, for it. You know, they might not offer no help, you know, especially if you're not credit worthy, you know, but they have an incentive program that fix that will find you. you know, so, you know, that kind of sums it up. But, you know, for the most part, I think we have a very good success rate. We're not as timely as I would like to see it. You know, some people, you work a full-time job, you get off of work at 5 o'clock, you go work on your house. You know, so you can only do so much of that in the weekends and such, and, you know, that just takes, you know, time, you know, to do things. So, you know, it's things like that that we have to think of, you know, when you're doing, you know, these kind of projects. We don't want for them to go 2 years into the thing, but some of them do because of just the way they're being worked, you know. And, you know, I've seen some Christian Cruz, I think his name is. He bought a city foreclosed house, and I believe a friend or cousins or whatever, a contractor, he went through and did everything he needed to do in that house in 28 days. and had it done, and all he had to do was wait for the weather to change to do the exterior painting, and he was done. So it's that difference. If you want to get it done, you can get it done. And just don't overextend yourself. Thinking that you're gonna everything gonna fall into place, because I'm a firm believer in Murphy's Law. And you just have to think, pretty much think it through. Just be able to look behind the scenes and see, if I change this, how is this going to affect this? And that's one of my favorite terms. Behind the scenes. I want this cute faucet, but what is it going to cost me to put that cute faucet in there? Type thing. So you might have to end up changing every pipe on that wall to get that cute faucet, and is it really worth it? And then you have the ones where you got a perfectly good working bathroom and a perfectly good working kitchen, but you want it to look new. So do you change it now, or do you change it later, or is it cost effective? Does it make sense? It's a lot of variables that we have to look at, and sometimes we try to talk people out of doing things, but it's their choice. Because we can't make anybody do anything. We're just a counselor. That's the term they call us now, counselors. But we just try to guide them in the right direction. To make the right judgment calls and such, and just don't overextend yourself to the point to where you're gonna get stuck. But Accent Whole, I believe Access is an excellent program. I see room for growth. I see room for improvement. We're trying to streamline the process to the point to where we're more effective, more consistent, where we could actually reach out to more people, so that we could get a better grip on the whole process. Because I would like to see ACTS do a lot more than we're doing, but I know everything has its limitations, and we're not a big firm to where we have lots of people we could throw at things, but we try to do what we can, and I think we're doing a good job. I just come back from medical leave. I had back surgery on April 18th. That's where all my years of devoted hard work, I get a bad back, so I had to go get it fixed and such, and just not getting, this is actually my second day back in the office, so just trying to get back into the swing of things. So, but soon I will be up to full strength and get right back into the swing of things. So no time lost, and I'm still single. Yeah. But
I'll
yeah,
bring you a protein shake tomorrow.
there you go. Yeah, there you go.
I mean,
But yeah.
I think we've exhausted our questions.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
No, not that I could think of. I think we pretty much covered the before and after, and why and who's and things, and hopefully when you get a Oscar for this documentary, I can get my pose on. Oh, time for my photo shoot. Thinking pose, yeah. Oh, you seriously want to take a picture here?
Oh yeah, if that's okay, we would like to take a picture because it's gonna be on the website, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're probably gonna need a little thumbnail picture of you, and then you'll have maybe.
I'm not gonna smile too much because I broke a tooth off in there.
Totally fine.
He does have a best side though.
I give you a
I got your
smirk.
best side.
There you go. There you go.
I actually got a really nice photo.
Good.
I mean, I think it's really nice.
Some of the good
You're
photos are.
smiling, really, like, I caught you mid-laugh.
Okay, that'll work.
Alright, we can take
Yeah.
another if you want, but like, look, he's like mid-laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a funny person, it's got humor.
Yeah, I try and keep a sense of humor. It keeps me sane. Yeah.
That was worth it. Oh, I'm sure. Alright, I think we're done.
Right.
We can
Okay.
do another interview now.
Oh,
Thank you.
not a problem.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
All right.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
same,
Mr. Smith,
same.
or Sam.